Hey everyone, and welcome back to the HIV RNA Test Guide podcast. You know us. We're your trusted source for HIV information and resources, and today we're doing a deep dive into something pretty amazing, EBT-101. Now this is a CRISPR-based therapy, and it's making waves. It could be, and I'm saying could, a functional cure for HIV. I've got a ton of research papers and articles here, and honestly, it's a lot to process. But that's why we have our expert here today to help us break it all down. So. Could this be the key to finally curing HIV?
It's definitely exciting stuff. EBT-101 is a totally new way of thinking about HIV treatment. But to really get it, we need to start with the basics. Why is HIV so hard to cure in the first place?
Okay, so back to basics for a sec. HIV is a virus, we all know that.
Right.
But what makes it so hard to get rid of? I mean, we've got ART-T, antiretroviral therapies, which are pretty effective at keeping the virus in check.
Yeah.
So what's the issue?
Well, the problem is how HIV operates. It's a sneaky one. It gets into our cells. It actually embeds its genetic code into our own DNA. We call this proviral DNA. It's like a hidden reservoir of the virus. ART can stop it from replicating, keep those viral factories shut down, but it can't get rid of that blueprint, that proviral DNA.
Because even here on ART, there's always a chance that HIV could come back.
Exactly. If someone stops ART, the virus can reactivate.
That's unsettling to say the least. So, where does EBT-101 fit into all of this?
This is where it gets really interesting. EBT-101 uses CRISPR-Cas9.
CRISPR.
Yeah, CRISPR-Cas9. It's a gene editing technology that basically acts like a pair of tiny scissors, targeting and cutting out specific pieces of DNA. In this case, it's programmed to go after that proviral DNA, that HIV blueprint, with the aim of disabling it for good.
Hold on. Are we talking about actually editing our genes to get rid of HIV? That sounds like science fiction.
It might sound futuristic, but that's exactly what's happening. EBT-101 uses something called an Adeno-Associated Virus, or AAV, to deliver the CRISPR machinery into the cells.
So the AAV is like a...
Think of it like a tiny delivery truck carrying those CRISPR scissors.
Gotcha. So AAV is the delivery system. CRISPR is the tool that does the cutting. And the target is that hidden HIV DNA. Makes sense. But...
how do we know those CRISPR scissors are precise enough? I mean, how do we know they'll only cut the HIV DNA and not mess with our own genes?
That's the big question, right? And the developers of EBT-101 were definitely thinking about that. So to make it more precise, they designed it with not one, but two guide RNAs. These guide RNAs are like GPS coordinates for the CRISPR, making sure it only cuts at very specific spots within the HIV genome.
Two sets of GPS coordinates, so it's like double-checking the address before making the cut. That's pretty smart. So, how far along are we with this research? Is it actually being tested in people?
Yes. And this is where it gets really exciting. EBT-101 has not only been cleared by the FDA for clinical trials, it's also received Fast Track designation.
Fast Track designation.
That means the FDA sees its potential and is speeding up the review process.
Wow. That's a big deal. It shows just how groundbreaking this research could be. And get this. As of today, EBT-101 is the only CRISPR-based therapy for HIV to reach this milestone.
That's incredible. So, clinical trials are underway. What are the early results looking like? Any good news yet?
The early data from the first human trial has been cautiously optimistic. The therapy was able to successfully target the intended DNA sequences, meaning the CRISPR was hitting its mark. And even more encouraging in several participants, it completely cleared the virus from the bloodstream for 6 months.
6 months, no detectable virus.
Exactly. And on top of that, there were no signs of off-target damage, meaning the CRISPR seemed to leave the rest of the cellular DNA untouched.
That's amazing. So are we talking about a cure then?
Well, not so fast. There's a catch. While those initial results were incredible, some participants eventually experienced viral rebound, meaning the virus started replicating again.
Oh, so it's not a complete success just yet.
Not quite, but remember, this is a first-in-human trial. Very early stages. There's still a lot we don't know about how EBT-101 works in the human body.
So even with those incredible initial results, there's still work to be done.
Definitely.
We've zapped the virus in some places, but it might still be hiding out in others.
That's one possibility. Another challenge is that HIV is incredibly good at evolving. It's possible the virus mutated in a way that made it resistant to the CRISPR.
So it's like the virus is trying to outsmart us.
In a way, yeah.
A never-ending arms race.
You could say that.
But even with these challenges, the fact that EBT-101 was able to suppress the virus, even temporarily, and without any off-target effects, is still a huge accomplishment.
It absolutely is.
So what are the next steps for EBT-101? Where do we go from here?
Right now, researchers are focusing on understanding why that viral rebound happened. and how to prevent it in the future. They're looking at ways to improve the delivery of EBT-101, maybe using different AAVs or combining them with other delivery methods to ensure the therapy reaches every potential viral hiding spot.
So it's back to the drawing board.
Yeah.
But with a lot of valuable data.
Yeah.
And a whole lot of hope.
I'd say that's a good summary. Oh. And there's another interesting finding from the trial. One participant actually experienced a much longer delay in viral rebound compared to the others, and their viral reservoir seemed to shrink, which suggests that EBT-101 might also be triggering an immune response that helps control the virus, even after the initial treatment.
So the therapy might be doing more than just cutting out the viral DNA. It could be training the immune system to fight HIV more effectively.
Exactly. It's definitely something researchers are looking into.
That's amazing. So much potential. Okay, let's take a step back for a second and recap what we know about EBT-101. It's a CRISPR-based therapy delivered by that harmless virus, the AAV, and it targets that proviral DNA, that hidden HIV blueprint.
Right, and it uses 2 guide RNAs
Yeah.
to make sure the CRISPR is making the cut in exactly the right place. And the early clinical trials, well, they've shown that it can actually clear the virus from the bloodstream, at least for a time, and without causing any harmful off-target edits.
But we still have those challenges, like viral rebound.
Yeah.
And the possibility that HIV could become resistant to the treatment. It's a lot to consider.
It is.
But the potential here is huge. We could be talking about a game changer for HIV treatment.
Absolutely. It's a reason to be cautiously optimistic.
It's a reminder that the fight against HIV is far from over.
Yeah.
But we are making significant progress.
We are.
And speaking of progress, EBT-101 was developed by Excision Biotherapeutics. And they're doing some really interesting work. They're focused on creating CRISPR therapies for viral infections.
They are?
And it's not just HIV. They're also tackling other chronic viral infections, like herpes viruses and hepatitis B. They're really going after some tough ones. What makes them stand out?
One thing is their commitment to precision and safety. They're incredibly careful about how they design their CRISPR systems to minimize the risk of those off-target edits.
So they're not just editing genes. They're doing it responsibly, with a lot of care.
Exactly.
That's good to hear. What else are they focused on?
Another thing that's important to them is accessibility and affordability. They know that cost can be a huge obstacle for a lot of people, especially in parts of the world that are hit hardest by HIV.
That's so crucial, especially when we're talking about life-changing therapies. It's great that they're considering that. So how are they approaching this cost issue?
Well, they're looking at a few different strategies, like partnering with government agencies, nonprofits, and insurance companies to help subsidize the cost of treatment.
That makes sense. It sounds like they're really committed to making a difference.
They are.
You know, listening to all of this, it makes me think, if EBT-101 is showing this much promise for HIV, what other viruses could we target with CRISPR? Could this be the beginning of a whole new era of medicine?
That's a question a lot of researchers are asking. The potential of CRISPR to target and disable viral DNA is huge, and we're really just scratching the surface. It's not just about HIV anymore. We could be looking at new treatments for hepatitis B, herpes, maybe even some cancers caused by viruses.
Wow, so CRISPR could really change everything.
It has the potential to.
It's incredible.
It's definitely an exciting time to be following this field.
It sounds like we're on the verge of a medical revolution.
I think we are.
This has been a fascinating look at EBT-101, but we're not done yet. In the next part of our deep dive, we're going to shift gears a bit and focus on the human side of EBT-101.
We'll be hearing from people living with HIV about their hopes and concerns about this therapy and what it could mean for the future.
Stay tuned for part 2, where we'll explore the personal stories behind this cutting-edge science.
Welcome back to our deep dive. In this part, we're going to shift gears a bit, move away from all the technical stuff, and focus on the human element of EBT-101.
Yeah, it's easy to get caught up in the science, all the CRISPR and AAVs and clinical trials. But at the end of the day, this research is about people. It's about giving hope to those living with HIV and working towards a future where this virus doesn't control their lives.
Exactly. So to bring that human element to life, we reached out to a few people living with HIV and asked them to share their thoughts on EBT-101 and what a potential cure would mean for them.
I'm really interested to hear what they have to say. Their perspectives are so important.
They are. Their stories are incredibly powerful and really highlight the personal impact of this research.
Well, let's hear from them. Let's listen in.
Okay. Yeah.
Those stories were so moving. You can really feel the hope and excitement that the possibility of a cure brings.
It's amazing, isn't it?
It is.
Yeah.
It also makes you realize just how strong and resilient people living with HIV are. They face so much. The physical challenges of the virus, the emotional toll of stigma, the daily burden of treatment, and yet they continue to fight, advocate for themselves, support each other.
It's truly inspiring.
It is, and their voices are so crucial, not just in sharing their experiences, but in shaping the future of HIV research.
Absolutely. They provide a perspective that scientists and clinicians just don't have.
Right. Their lived experience offers insights that can help guide the development of new therapies, inform clinical trial design, make sure that research is actually meeting the needs of those affected.
Exactly.
It's amazing to think how far we've come in HIV research. I mean, it wasn't that long ago that an HIV diagnosis was a death sentence.
You're right. It's incredible how much things have changed. Thanks to antiretroviral therapy, people with HIV can now live long and healthy lives. And now with gene editing, therapies like EBT-101, we're entering a whole new era, an era where a cure for HIV might actually be possible.
It's a testament to the power of science, of collaboration, and the determination to find a solution. But it's also a reminder that the fight is far from over.
Right. We can't forget that there are still millions of people around the world who don't have access to the treatment they need. And even in places where treatment is available, stigma and discrimination are still huge problems.
It's a reminder that scientific advancements alone aren't enough. We need to address the social and economic factors that contribute to the epidemic, ensure equitable access to health care, and work to eliminate the stigma surrounding HIV.
Absolutely.
So important.
And it's important to remember that behind the statistics and the data are real people, each with their own story, each deserving of compassion and support.
That's what those stories we heard really drove home. They remind us why we're doing this work, why finding a cure is so crucial.
Now, before we wrap up this part of our deep dive, I want to go back to something we mentioned earlier, the preclinical research that led to EBT-101. Remember, before any new therapy can be tested in humans, it has to go through rigorous testing in the lab and in animal models to make sure it's safe and effective.
Yeah, it's like the dress rehearsal before the main performance. So what did that preclinical research tell us about EBT-101? What made researchers think it had potential?
The preclinical data was really promising. In studies done in cell lines and animal models, EBT-101 consistently showed that it could target and remove HIV proviral DNA.
So it worked in a test tube. And it also showed promise in living organisms.
Exactly. And it wasn't just effective in one type of cell. EBT-101 worked in a variety of cell types that are relevant to HIV infection, including T cells and macrophages, which are key players in the immune response.
This is hitting its targets and in the right cells.
Yes. And it gets even better. In animal models, EBT-101 significantly reduced the levels of HIV proviral DNA in a variety of tissues, including lymph nodes, the spleen, and even the brain, areas where HIV can sometimes hide, even with RT.
The brain, that's huge. It's always been so difficult to reach HIV that's hiding in the brain. So this suggests that EBT-101 could potentially clear the virus from those hard-to-reach places.
That's what the data suggests. These preclinical findings were a major breakthrough, and they provided strong evidence that EBT-101 was worth testing in humans.
It's good to know that there was such a solid foundation of research before moving to human trials. But as we've talked about, the journey from preclinical research to an approved therapy is long, and there are always surprises along the way.
Definitely. Preclinical studies are just the first step. They give us important information. But the real test comes in human clinical trials.
And that's where we are now with EBT-101. The ongoing Phase 12 clinical trial will give us more information about how well the therapy works in people and whether it can really live up to its potential.
Exactly.
But it's important to acknowledge the role that preclinical research plays. It shows the value of scientific investigation and the importance of animal models in developing new treatments.
I agree.
It's a reminder that scientific progress takes time, and every step is crucial. And with EBT-101, that journey is driven by the hope of finding a cure for HIV and improving the lives of millions of people.
Speaking of improving lives, I think we need to talk about the cost of EBT-101. It's a question that's on a lot of people's minds, especially with such a new and potentially revolutionary therapy.
You're right. Gene editing technologies like CRISPR are still relatively new, and developing and manufacturing these therapies is complex and expensive. So while it's too early to say for sure what the cost of EBT-101 will be, it's understandable that people are concerned about affordability.
I agree. Access to treatment shouldn't depend on how much money you have.
Absolutely. So what can you tell us about how Excision Biotherapeutics is approaching pricing? Are they thinking about affordability?
Yes, they are. Excision has said publicly that they're committed to making their therapies accessible and affordable. They understand that cost is a barrier for many people, and they're working to develop pricing strategies that will ensure as many people as possible can access EBT-101.
That's good to hear. What are they doing specifically to address this?
They're exploring a few different options, like partnering with government agencies, nonprofit organizations, and insurance companies. These collaborations could help lower the cost of treatment for individuals.
It sounds like they're really trying to find solutions.
They are.
They want to make sure that people who need EBT-101 can get it, regardless of their financial situation.
Right.
What else are they considering?
They're also looking at different payment models, like subscription-based plans or pay-for-performance agreements. These could help spread the cost of treatment out over time and link payment to positive outcomes.
That's interesting. It seems like they're really thinking outside the box.
They are.
It's important that they're making affordability a priority. Because what good is a groundbreaking therapy if people can't afford it?
Exactly.
Their commitment to affordability is definitely a good thing.
It is.
This conversation about cost. It reminds us that even with amazing scientific advancements, access to healthcare is still a big issue.
It is. It's not just about the cost of treatment. It's also about access to quality healthcare services, support systems, and changing how society views and addresses HIV.
Right. It's about creating an environment where people living with HIV feel comfortable seeking treatment and can access the resources they need without fear of judgment.
Exactly.
That's where organizations like HIVRNAtestguide.com come in. We're not just an information source. We're a resource that connects people with the support they need. We provide information on HIV testing, prevention, treatment, and living well with HIV. We also have a directory of resources, links to local HIV clinics, support groups, and other organizations that can help.
It's so important to have all of that information in one place.
It is. We believe that knowledge is power. The more you know about HIV, the better equipped you are to make decisions about your health.
Right.
And remember, we offer quick, affordable, and confidential HIV testing across the U.S. Knowing your status is the first step.
It is.
We're here to support you.
We are.
This conversation about access to care and support is the good transition to the final part of our deep dive. We've talked about the science behind EBT-101, the clinical trials, the potential benefits, and the challenges. And the human stories.
We have.
But there's one more thing we need to discuss. The broader implications of this research for the HIV community and for the future of HIV treatment.
That's a big one.
It is. So stay tuned for the final part of the deep dive, where we'll zoom out and look at the big picture. What could EBT-101 mean for the future of HIV? Welcome back to the deep dive.
Okay.
We've explored the science behind EBT-101, the clinical trials, the potential, the challenges, and the human stories. Now, in this final part, let's step back and look at the bigger picture. What does the emergence of EBT-101 mean for the future of HIV treatment? What does it mean for the millions of people around the world living with this virus?
It's a question that's causing a lot of buzz, both excitement and cautious optimism. EBT-101 isn't just another step forward. It could completely change how we approach HIV treatment.
Right. We're not just talking about suppressing the virus anymore. We're talking about potentially eliminating it completely, getting rid of it from the body.
Exactly. And while it's still early, the results from those initial trials are really promising. Even just that temporary period of undetectable virus in some participants. It's huge.
It feels like we're finally getting a glimpse of a future where HIV isn't a chronic, life-altering condition.
That's the hope. But of course, we have to be realistic. There are still challenges, like figuring out why some participants experienced viral rebound and how to prevent that from happening. And we need to make sure the therapy can reach all the places where the virus might be hiding. And then there's the issue of cost and access.
Right. It's not a perfect solution yet. But it's a powerful new tool.
Definitely.
And it's definitely gotten researchers and scientists excited.
It has. And it's given a lot of hope to the HIV community.
Yeah. Those stories we heard in the last part,
Yeah.
they really showed how much this research means to people.
It did.
People are tired of taking pills every day, tired of worrying about the virus coming back, tired of the stigma. They want a life without HIV.
Yeah.
And EBT-101 offers a real possibility of that.
It does.
It's crucial that we keep those voices and experiences in mind. As this research continues,
I agree.
they have so much to offer.
Yeah.
In terms of guiding the development of new treatments and shaping the future of HIV care.
Absolutely.
It's incredible when you think about how far we've come. just a few decades ago. An HIV diagnosis was terrifying. Now, thanks to antiretroviral therapies, people with HIV can live long and healthy lives.
It's amazing, isn't it? It's a testament to the hard work of so many people.
Yeah.
Researchers, doctors,
Yeah.
activists, and of course,
Yeah.
people living with HIV who never gave up hope.
And now with EBT-101, it feels like we're entering a new chapter. A chapter where a cure might actually be possible.
It's an exciting time.
It is. But even with all this progress, we can't forget that the fight against HIV isn't over.
Right.
There's still millions of people who don't have access to treatment. Stigma and discrimination are still major problems.
Yeah.
And there's still so much we don't know about HIV.
We still have a long way to go.
We do. We need to keep investing in research, expand access to treatment and prevention, and fight for social justice and equality for everyone affected by HIV.
Couldn't agree more.
It's going to take all of us working together.
Scientists.
Healthcare providers, policymakers, activists, people living with HIV to reach our goal.
What goal is that?
A world without HIV. A world where everyone has the chance to live a long and healthy life, regardless of their HIV status.
That's a world worth fighting for.
It is, and EBT-101. It's a sign that we're on the right track. It's a testament to human ingenuity and to the belief that a cure is possible.
It's a story that's still being written.
It is. We're excited to see what the next chapter holds. We hope you've found this deep dive into EBT-101 informative and inspiring. Stay informed about the latest HIV research and advocate for more funding and support for HIV programs.
Knowledge is power. The more you know about HIV, the better you can take care of your health and contribute to the fight against this virus.
And as always, we're here for you. If you have questions about HIV or want to learn more about testing, prevention, or treatment options, visit HIVRNHTestguide.com. We offer quick, affordable, and confidential HIV testing across the U.S. Don't wait. Take control of your health today.
Thanks for joining us for this deep dive into EBT-101.
We can end the HIV epidemic together.